Chapter 1. My first interview with the alien. By the time the alien had been returned to base, I had already spent several hours with her. As I mentioned, Mr. Cavett told me to stay with the alien, since I was the only person among us who could understand her communication. I could not understand my ability to communicate with the being. I had never before that time experienced telepathic communication with anyone. The non-verbal communication I experienced was like the understanding you might have when a child or a dog is trying to get you to understand something, but much more direct and powerful. Even though there were no words spoken or signs made, the intention of the thought were unmistakable to me. I realized later that although I received the thought, I did not necessarily interpret its meaning exactly. I think that the alien being was not willing to discuss technical matters, due to the nature of her position as an officer and pilot with the duty to maintain the security and confidentiality required by her own unit or organization. Any soldier who is captured by the enemy in the line of duty has a responsibility to withhold vital information, even in the face of interrogation or torture, of course. But in spite of that, I have always felt that the alien being was not really trying to hide anything from me. I just never got that feeling. Her communication always seemed honest and sincere to me. But I suppose you can never know for sure. I definitely feel that I shared a unique bond with the alien. It was a kind of trust or empathy that you have with a patient or a child. I think this is because the alien could understand that I was really interested in her and had no harmful intention, nor would I allow any harm to come to her, if I could prevent it. This was true too. I refer to the alien as her. Actually, the being was not sexual in any way, either physiologically or psychologically. She did have a rather strong, feminine presence and demeanor. However, in terms of physiology, the being was asexual and had no internal or external reproductive organs. Her body was more like the body of doll or robot. There were no internal organs, as the body was not constructed of biological cells. It did have a kind of circuit system or electrical nervous system that ran throughout the body, but I could not understand how it worked. In stature and appearance, the body was quite short and petite, about 40 inches tall. The head was disproportionately large relative to arms, legs and torso, which were thin. There were 3 fingers on each of 2 hands, and feet, which were somewhat prehensile. 22. The head had no operational nose or mouth or ears. I understood the space officer did not need these, as space has no atmosphere to conduct sound. Therefore, sound-related sensory organs are not built into the body. Nor does the body need to consume food, hence, the absence of a mouth. The eyes were quite large. I was never able to determine the exact degree of visual acuity of which the eyes were capable, but I observed that her sense of sight must have been extremely acute. I think the lenses of the eyes, which were very dark and opaque, may also have been able to detect waves or particles beyond the visual spectrum of light. 23. I suspect that this may have included the full range of the electromagnetic spectrum, 24 or more, but I do not know this for sure. When the being looked at me, her gaze seemed to penetrate right through me, as though she had X-ray vision. 25. I found this a little embarrassing, at first, until I realized that she had no sexual intentions. In fact, I don't think she ever even had the thought that I was male or female. It became very obvious after a short time with the being that her body did not require oxygen, food or water or any other external source of nutrition or energy. As I learned later, this being supplied her own energy, which animated and operated the body. It seemed a little bit eerie at first, but I got used to the idea. It's really a very, very simple body. There is not much to it compared to our own bodies. Ale explained to me that it was not mechanical, like a robot, nor was it biological. It is animated directly by her as a spiritual being. Technically, from a medical standpoint, I would say that Ale's body could not even be called alive. Her doll Body is not a biological life form, 26 with cells, and so forth. It has smooth skin or covering which was gray in color. The body was highly tolerant to changes in temperature, atmospheric conditions, and pressure. The limbs were quite frail, without musculature. In space there is no gravity, 27, so very little muscle strength is needed. The body was used almost entirely on spacecraft or in low or no gravity environments. Since Earth has a heavy gravity, body was not able to walk around very well as the legs were not really suited to that purpose. The feet and hands were quite flexible and agile, however. Overnight, before my first interview with the alien, the area had been transformed into a buzzing hive of activity. There were a dozen men working on setting up lights and camera equipment. A motion picture camera and microphone and a tape recorder was there also set up in the interview room. There was also a stenographer, 28, and several people busily typing on typewriters. I was informed that an expert foreign language interpreter and a code-breaking team had been flown to the base during the night to assist with my efforts to communicate with the alien. There were also several medical personnel specialists in various fields to examine the alien. And a professor of psychology was there to help formulate questions and interpret the answers. As I was just a nurse, I was not considered to be a qualified interpreter, even though I was the only one there who could understand anything the alien was thinking. There were many subsequent conversations between us. Each interview resulted in an exponential increase in understanding between us, as I will discuss later on in my notes. This is the first transcript with the answers to a list of questions provided to me by the intelligence officer at the base, which I debriefed to the stenographer immediately following the interview. Top secret official transcript of the U.S. Army Air Force Roswell Army Airfield, 509th Bomb Group Subject, Alien Interview, 9/7/1947. Question: Are you injured? Answer: No. Question: What medical assistance do you require? Answer: None. Question: Do you need food or water or other sustenance? Answer: No. Question: Do you have any special environmental needs, such as air temperature, atmospheric chemical content, air pressure, or weight elimination? Answer: No. I am not a biological being. Question: Does your body or spacecraft carry any germs or contamination that may be harmful to humans or other Earth life forms? Answer: No germs in space. Question: Does your government know you are here? Answer: Not at this time. Question: Are others of your kind going to come looking for you? Answer: Yes. Question: What is the weapons capability of your people? Answer: Very destructive. I did not understand the exact nature of the kind of arms or weapons that they might have, but I did not feel that there was a malevolent intention in her reply, just a statement of fact. Question: Why did your spacecraft crash? Answer: It was struck by an electrical discharge from the atmosphere which caused US to lose control. Question: Why was your spacecraft in this area? Answer: Investigation of burning clouds, radiation. Explosions 29. Question: How does your spacecraft fly? Answer: It is controlled through mind. Responds to thought commands. Mind or thought command are the only English language words I can think of to describe the thought. The bodies, and I think the spacecraft, are connected directly to them through some kind of electrical, nervous system that they control with their own thoughts. Question: How do your people communicate with each other? Answer: Through mind, thought. The words mind and thought combined together are the closest English language words I can think of to describe the idea at this time. However, it was very obvious to me that they communicate directly from the mind, just as she is communicating with me. Question: Do you have a written language or symbols for communication? Answer: Yes. Question: What planet are you from? Answer: The home, birthplace world of the domain. Since I am not an astronomer, I have no way of thinking in terms of stars, galaxies, constellations, and directions in space. The impression I received was of a planet in the center of a huge cluster of galaxies that is to her like home or birthplace. The word domain is the closest word I can think of to describe her concept, images, and thoughts about where she is from. It could as easily be called the territory or the realm. However, I am sure that it was not just a planet or a solar system or a cluster of stars, but an enormous number of galaxies. Question: will your government send representatives to meet with our leaders? Answer: no. Question: what are your intentions concerning Earth? Answer: preserve, protect property of the domain. Question: what have you learned about Earth governments and military installations? Answer: poor, small, destroy planet. Question: why haven't your people made your existence known to the people of Earth? Answer: watch, observe, no contact. I got the impression that contact with people on Earth was not permitted, but I could not think of a word or idea that communicated the impression I got exactly. They are just observing us. Question: have your people visited Earth previously? Answer: periodic, repeating observations. Question: how long have you known about Earth? Answer: long before humans. I am not sure if the word prehistoric would be more accurate, but it was definitely a very long period of time before human beings evolved. Question: what do you know about the history of civilization on Earth? Answer: small interest, attention, small time. The answer to this question seemed very vague to me. However, I perceived that her interest in Earth history is not very strong, or that she did not pay much attention to it. Or maybe, I don't know. I didn't really get an answer to the question. Question: can you describe your home world to us? Answer: place of civilization, culture, history. Large planet. Wealth, resources always. Order, power. Knowledge, wisdom. 2 stars. 3 moons. Question: what is the state of development of your civilization? Answer: ancient. Trillions of years. Always. Above all others. Plan. Schedule. Progress. Win. High goals. Ideas. I use the number trillions 30 because I am sure that the meaning was a number larger than many billions. The idea of the length of time she communicated is beyond me. It's really closer to the idea of infinity in terms of Earth years. Question: do you believe in God? Answer: we think it is. Make it continue. Always. I am sure that the alien being does not understand the concept of God or worship as we do. I assume that people in her civilization were all atheists. My impression was that they think very highly of themselves and are very prideful indeed. Question: what type of society do you have? Answer: order, power, future always, control, grow. These are the closest words I could use to describe the idea she had about her own society or civilization. Her emotion when communicating her response to this question became very intense, very bright, emphatic. Her thought was filled with an emotion that gave me a feeling of jubilation or joy. But it made me very nervous also. Question: are there other intelligent life forms besides yourself in the universe? Answer: everywhere. We are greatest, highest of all. Due to her small stature, I am sure that she did not mean tallest or biggest. Again, a prideful nature showed through in the feeling I received from her. This was the conclusion of the first interview. When the answers to the first list of questions were typed and given to the people who were waiting for them, they were very excited that I was able to get the alien to say anything. However, after they finished reading my answers, they were disappointed that I could not understand more clearly. Now they had a lot of new questions because of the answers I received the first list of questions. An officer told me to await further instructions. I waited for several hours in the adjoining office. I was not allowed to continue my interview with the alien. However, I was always well treated, allowed to eat and sleep and use the restroom facilities whenever I wanted. Eventually, a new list of questions was written for me to ask the alien. I gathered that quite a few other agents, government and military officials had arrived at the base by this time. They told me that several other people would be in the room with me during the next interview so they could prompt me to ask for more details during the interview. However, when I attempted to conduct the interview with these people in the room, I received no thought, emotions, or any other perceptible communication from the alien. Nothing. The alien just sat in a chair without moving. We all left the interview room. The intelligence agent became very agitated about this. He accused me of lying or making up the answers to the first questions. I insisted that my answers were honest, and as accurate as I could make them. Later that day, it was decided that several other people would attempt to ask questions of the alien. However, in spite of several attempts by different experts, no one else was ever able to get any communication at all from the alien. Over the next several days, a psychic research scientist from back east was flown to the base to interview the alien. Her name was Gertrude something or other. I don't recall the last name. 31 On another occasion, an Indian clairvoyant named Krishnamurti 32 came to the base to try to communicate with the alien. Neither one was successful at getting the alien to communicate anything. I was personally not able to communicate telepathically with either of these people either, although I did think that Mr. Krishnamurti was a very kind and intelligent gentleman. Finally, it was decided that I should be left with the alien by myself to see if I could get any answers. Chapter 2. My second interview. In next interview, I was told to ask the alien only one question. Top secret official transcript of the U.S. Army Air Force Roswell Army Airfield, 509th Bomb Group Subject Alien Interview 10/7, 1947. Question: why have you stopped communicating? Answer: no stop. Others: hidden, covered, secret fear. The alien cannot communicate with them because they were afraid of her or do not trust her. And it is clear to me that the alien is very aware that some people have secret intentions toward her and are hiding their real thoughts. It is equally obvious to me that the alien does not have even a tiny bit of fear of us, or anything else, for that matter. I pondered the words I chose to convey the meaning of the alien's thoughts very carefully before reporting to the stenographer and people who were waiting anxiously in the other room. Personally, I never suffered any fear or misapprehension about the alien whatsoever. I was very, very curious and excited to learn anything and everything I could about her and from her. However, like the alien, I did not have much trust or confidence in the agents or authorities who were controlling my interviews. I had no idea what their intention toward her might be. However, I am sure that the military officers were very, very nervous about having an alien spacecraft and pilot on their hands. At that moment, my greatest worry was how to more clearly understand the thoughts and ideas of the alien. I think that I was doing pretty well as a telepathic receiver, but not as good as telepathic sender. I wanted desperately to figure out a better way to communicate with the alien in a way that would enable the growing legion of government officials to understand her more directly, without having to rely on my interpretation of her thoughts. I did not feel very well qualified to act as an interpreter, yet I was the only person with whom the alien would communicate, so it was up to me to get the job done. I was also becoming acutely aware that this was probably the biggest news event in the history of Earth, and that I should be proud to have any part in it. Of course, by that time the entire incident had been officially denied in the press, and a cover-up of immense proportions by the military and the powers that be. 33 had already begun. However, I was beginning to feel the pressure of the responsibility for being the first person on Earth, as far as I knew, to communicate with an extraterrestrial life form. I think I know how Columbus 34 must have felt when he discovered a new world the size of a continent on one small planet. But I was about to discover an entirely new, unexplored universe. 35. While I waited for my next instruction from my superiors, I went to my quarters, under escort of several heavily armed MPs. Several other men dressed in black suits and ties accompanied me also. They were still there when I got up in the morning. After breakfast, which was brought to me in my own quarters, they escorted me back to the office at the base that was used for the interview. Chapter 3. My third interview. The third interview, and all subsequent interviews that I had with the alien, were observed and recorded, as I mentioned above, by dozens of other people. Although they were not physically present, a special room had been constructed with a window of one-way glass through which the interview could be observed from an adjoining room, without intruding on the alien. The alien had been moved into the newly constructed room and was seated in an ordinary overstuffed living room chair covered with a flowery fabric. I'm sure that someone had been sent into town to buy a chair from the nearest available furniture store. The alien's body was about the same size as a very thin 5-year-old child, so she was dwarfed by the chair. Since her body was not biological, it didn't need any food, air or heat, and apparently, she didn't sleep either. There were no eyelids or eyebrows above her eyes, so the eyes didn't close. I don't think anyone could tell whether she was sleeping or awake as long as she was sitting upright in the chair. Unless she moved her body or gestured with her hand, it would be hard to tell whether she was even alive or not, unless you could perceive her thoughts. Eventually, I learned that the alien was not identified by her body, but by her personality, so to speak. She was known by her fellow aliens as L. This is the closest word I can use to describe the name using the English alphabet. I sensed that she preferred the feminine gender. I think we shared a natural, female empathy and nurturing attitude toward life and each other. I am sure she did not feel comfortable with combative, aggressive, domineering attitude of the male officers and agents, each of whom was more concerned with their own personal self-importance and power than with discovering the secret of the universe. When I entered the room, she was very pleased to see me. I felt a very genuine sense of recognition, relief, and a warm feeling from her. It was like the eager excitement and unconditional platonic affection one feels from a dog or child, yet the calm and reserved control. I must say that I was surprised that I felt the same sort of affection for the alien being, especially since we had spent so little time with each other. I was pleased that I was able to continue my interviews with her in spite of all the attention it was getting from the stream of government and military people arriving at the base. It was very obvious that the people who wrote the next series of questions for me wanted to learn how to communicate with the alien themselves, without having to go through me. Here are the answers to the new list of questions. Top secret official transcript of the U.S. Army Air Force Roswell Army Airfield, 509th Bomb Group Subject Alien Interview 11. 7. 1947. Question: can you read or write any Earth languages? Answer: no. Question: do you understand numbers or mathematics? Answer: yes. I am officer, pilot, engineer. Question: can you write or draw symbols or pictures that we may be able to translate into our own language? Answer: uncertain. Question: are there any other signs or means of communication you can use to help us understand your thoughts more clearly? Answer: no. I was very sure that this was not true. But I understood clearly that Elle was not willing to communicate in writing or drawing or sign language. My feeling was that she was following orders like any soldier who has been captured, not to reveal any information that might be useful to an enemy, even under torture. She was only able and willing to reveal non-confidential or personal information or name, rank, and serial number. Top secret official transcript of the U.S. Army Air Force Roswell Army Airfield, 509th Bomb Group Subject Alien Interview 11. 7. 1947, Second Session. Question: can you show us on a map of the stars which is the star of your home planet? 36. Answer: no. This is not because she does not know the direction from Earth to her home planet. She was unwilling to reveal the location. It was also due to the fact that the star system of her home planet does not exist on any star map on Earth. It is too far away. Question: how long will it take your people to locate you here? Answer: unknown. Question: how long will it take your people to travel here to rescue you? Answer: minutes or hours. Question: how can we make them understand that we do not intend to harm you? Answer: intentions are clear. See in your mind images, feelings. Question: if you are not a biological entity, why do you refer to yourself as feminine? Answer: I am a creator, mother, source. These questions took me only a few minutes to complete. I realized then that we may be in for some serious trouble if the alien was not willing to cooperate, or reveal any information that the military or intelligence agencies or scientists considered to be useful to them. I was also sure that the alien was very certain of the actual intentions of the people who wrote these questions, as she could read their minds just as easily as she could read my thoughts and communicate with me telepathically. Because of these intentions, she was unwilling and unable to cooperate with any of them in any way, under any circumstances. I am equally sure that since she was not a biological life form, that there was no kind of torture or coercion that would change her mind. Chapter 4. The Language Barrier. After